We're back today with another endgame guide for Last Epoch. This is one that I didn't actually plan to do, however, when I was farming on my Falconer last night I had the Wraithlord's Harbour drop. That's the new unique for the Necromancer that's been added to the game. This was created by David Harbour, mostly known from Stranger Things. I decided I would play around with it a little bit and try it out, and I've been giggling like a schoolgirl all morning because it's absolutely amazing. The damage numbers that I'm able to get on it with tweaking my gear are just gone through the roof. You can see from the actual thumbnail I've managed to get a 4 million crit, and you can see from the gameplay on screen here as well how quick the actual Wraith that you summon is hitting enemies. So yeah, this build is absolutely amazing and I can't wait to show it off today. We will have a full build planner for it as well. Now before we do go in and we start breaking it all down, if the video is helpful, there's a ton of our guide content on the channel, so feel free to check that out, and if you want to hit the like button and leave a comment, that would be appreciated as well. But let's dive in, let's start breaking all this down. We'll start off here in the training area, and this is just a very quick breakdown that we will do, and then from there we'll go in and we'll have a look at all the gear in detail and the skills and the passive trees and so on. But this build is enabled via the Wraithlord's Harbour unique, as mentioned, added with patch 1.0. So with this you'll gain +1 to summon Wraith, you get additional minion movement speed, melee damage, spell damage. When you summon a Wraith, rather than it being a regular Wraith, you summon a Wraithlord. So you can see on the tooltip, the Wraithlord scales with your summon Wraith tree and summons other Wraiths for you while in combat. And while at max Wraiths, the Wraithlord casts necrotic beams. This is an attack that's doing the 4 million damage on the training dummy, and it will regularly consume all your non-Wraith minions to empower itself. And you can see you get up to +10 spell damage per minion that it actually consumes, and that lasts for 10 seconds. So to show you how this would work here, so firstly we're going to bring in the Wraith, we'll summon it. We've got it set up so it summons just the 2 of the Wraiths, because if you have it summoning more than that, yes, they'll do more damage themselves, but it means your actual main Wraith spends a lot of time summoning them. We want it just doing this main attack as often as we can get it to do. So I'll drop Infernal Shade on it as well, and I will show off all the skill trees for these skills later on in detail, and then we'll also drop Dread Shade onto it. So you can see its attack speed is really going through the roof there, and the damage is really ramping up. And then you've got the portion where it consumes your minions. So we have Summon Volatile Zombie. The setup we're using, we get a ton of minions that actually appear. If I close this down, move over here, you'll see how many we get. So that was actually so quick it was hard to see there, but I think it's around about 10 to 15 we get, and we can cast it every 6 seconds or so. So that's giving us an additional 160 base spell damage, but if we're doing it quicker than 10 seconds, that's equivalent to 320. So that's where you're getting your insane damage from. You can see the numbers starting to ramp up there. But that is a quick overview. Let's go in now and we'll actually break down the gear in a lot more detail. For the gear breakdown here, we'll use the awesome Last Epoch tools. Now, I'll actually drop 2 links below. One is to the perfect gear that you want to farm, and this is what we'll show off here. And the second one is to the gear that I'm actually using at the moment that's given me the results that you've seen in this video. But we start off here, Wraithlord's Harbour. We've already talked about that, so I won't break it down again. But with this, if you were to add 1 legendary potential onto it, then I would go for the hybrid increased necrotic damage, so that'll apply to your Wraithlord as well. For the amulet, the death rattle is fantastic on this setup. You get a huge amount of critical strike multiplier. It goes up to 65%. Sadly, it's not the 100% it used to be before patch 1.0, but 65 is still pretty amazing. You've got intelligence, which is great for us. That means your minion gets health and damage. And then you've got regain 30 health on minions' death. And when you cast your volatile zombies, you will be summoning a ton of different minions, so you'll see your health shoot back up when you use this. For the body armour, we use Immortal Regalia. So this one here, it gives us minion resistances. In regards to your exalted effects, and I'll show off 1 exalted effects on any gear piece that's not a unique item, because it's not too bad to get on an item. So you've got your +4 to the level of Summon Wraith and increased minion damage. You've then got increased minion necrotic damage. We have armour and reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes. We go for that rather than critical strike avoidance. And then we have some flat health. For the main hand, I'm using the trusty Reach of the Grave, equipable at level 5. The fact we can use it at endgame is really pretty amazing. So this gives us increased spell damage for our Wraithlord, and you've also got increased cast speed. And then for your legendary effects, I would go for the Minion Necrotic Penetration. This would be absolutely amazing. This is the only place you could potentially get this, so really do try and get this on this slot. With the catalyst here, it's a fleshbound tomb, so you've got intelligence, minion damage, minion health. Your modifiers are minion damage and minion health. We have ward per second, and we have elemental resistance as well. For the build slot, it's Praetorian Belt. We have increased armour with this, and then once again it's minion health, minion damage, health, and then your exalted effects. This is your hybrid health, so it's flat health and the multiplier. You can get this on your belt, your boots and your gloves, so you always want to get that in these slots, if of course it's a health based build that you are going for. For the first ring here, we have Ribbons of Blood. I need to do a bit more testing because potentially I think we don't need this because the Wraithlord has so much survivability, but I'm putting this in here for now. So with this, the main reason we use it is so that your minions can't be crit. It also means your regular Wraiths aren't killed, because if they're killed then your Wraithlord has to spend time resummoning them. So yeah, this is what I would go for now, but I am playing around with this. In regards to your legendary potential effects, it would be the increased minion damage. Our second ring is the turquoise ring. You're getting increased minion damage, minion health and the critical strike multiplier, and actually looking at that now in hindsight, I would maybe equip 2 of these because that critical strike multiplier would be really nice on us. I'll play around with that and I'll let you know how I actually get on. Modifier wise, we've got increased minion damage, intelligence, endurance to get us up to 60%, and then flat health as well. For the boot slot, we use the awesome Citadel boots. These were introduced with 1.0. These give us reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes. Modifiers would be vitality, increased movement speed, increased cooldown recovery speed, so we can use our volatile zombies more often, and also your hybrid health. For the boots here, we use awesome Citadel boots. So with these, you've got the implicit reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes. Modifier wise, we have vitality, increased movement speed, increased cooldown recovery speed, and then your hybrid health. With the gloves here, we choose one that's got an implicit of increased cooldown recovery speed. We actually had that in our boots as well. The reason we go for that is we can cast volatile zombie more often, which the Wraithlord will then consume all those minions, and that gives them more damage. Modifier wise, it's intelligence, increased minion damage, hybrid health once again, and then finishing off with flat health. The final item here before we look at the blessings and the relics, I would use the ambitions of an erased acolyte. So this is a Weaver's Will item. The base on this is pretty nice. You've got +1 to the level of acolyte skills, you've got endurance, and you've got when a nearby enemy or ally dies, you gain ward equal to between 4 to 6% of its maximum health. And again, we're summoning a ton of allies when we use our volatile zombie. Now, in regards to modifiers, it's really random on this, but ones that you want to keep an eye out for, as much as it is random, are intelligence, your minion damage, your endurance, and your health as well. We start off the blessings here then with the Black Sun, and I would go for void resistance. We have End in the Storm. Personally, I would go for ward per second. For Reign of Dragons, I would go for all resistances. We then have the Age of Winter, and I've got a physical resistance. And then finally for the blessings here, we have Spirits of Fire, and it has to be the increased minion damage. For the idols here, I would actually use multiples of just 2 different types. Firstly, you've got the Stout Ligonian idol. You can get increased health as a multiplier and also as a flat amount. You can see I'm using 4 of these here, and then I would have 4 of this particular one, the Large Immortal idol. So it gives us increased health once again, and it gives us a chance to apply Marked for Death and minion hit. This lowers the enemy's resistance by 25%. So when we've got 4 of them and we max it out, that would be 28% chance. And with how quick we are attacking, when you've got the likes of bosses and elites that you aren't one-shotting, although sometimes you will be one-shotting them, but when you have ones where you're not, then you apply that Marked for Death, so you're doing even more damage. So we have the full progression planner here. It's all recorded in, so if you actually want to go through the point allocation, you can see that you are able to do that. But what I'll do very quickly is I'll just run through the different nodes that we've went for here, and if you want to see the order then just go to Last Epoch tools. So we've got 7 points into Forbidden Knowledge, that's intelligence and necrotic resistance. We have 5 points into Dark Rituals, it's increased minion attack speed. 8 points into Stolen Vitality, it gives us vitality and increased minion health. We have 1 point into Soul Aegis, that gives us, our minions even, an additional 300 minion armour. And then we have 6 points into Eye of Damnation, that's a nice amount of increased minion necrotic damage. You can see it's 72% necrotic damage it gives there. We'll quickly dip into the Warlock tree here. We have 8 points into Chaos Flames, that gives us damage chance and increased necrotic damage up to 48%, and you can see that this applies to our minions. We start off the Necromancer with Risen Army. The full 8 points gives us 32% minion damage and 16% cast speed. We have 10 points going into Cursed Blood, so it's increased minion necrotic damage 60%. Aegis Fall, that will give us some armour shred stacks for our minions. 3 points into Dark Retribution, so when our minions die they have a chance to summon a Skeleton Vanguard and they'll instantly be consumed by our Wraithlord, boosting the damage on them. 1 point into Tyrant allows us 8 points into Cling to Life, so that's an additional 8 vitality and plus 16 to our minion all resistances. 10 points into Moonlight Pyre, that gives us some flat necrotic damage. And then we have Rite of Undeath, that's given us increased minion necrotic damage 150% for 10 points, so that's pretty nice. 10 points into Blades of the Forlorn. We're going for this purely for the minion critical strike multiplier because your Wraithlord has 100% critical strike chance, so 70% they're added on. It's really nice. 1 point here, which allows us 5 points into this. We don't need the critical strike chance, but we have minion critical strike damage leached as health, and that helps keep our Wraithlord up with the various debuffs we have on them that will be reducing their health. And then our last 4 points here would go into Heresy, and that's given us intelligence, which is always nice for us. So that's the passive trees. Let's look at the skill trees now. The first skill we look at here is the all-important Summon Wraith. With the setup we're using, we have as much as 26 points we can actually invest in this. So we want to choose this one here just for the main reason we want to go down this particular tree. So we have Haunting, it increases the maximum health on our Wraiths, so that will be the 2 Wraiths that we will summon alongside our Wraithlord. This particular node here is the one that gives us the 2 Wraiths. Now the reason that's important, I mentioned it earlier on in the video, but one setup you might see people run with this is having multiple Wraiths. You can use a certain one, so you could have something like, I think it's around about 16 or so Wraiths available on screen. Your big problem with that is that your Wraithlord will constantly be resummoning them when they are killed, whereas with this setup you only have 2 Wraiths and they really shouldn't be go down at all, which means your Wraithlord will be doing his necrotic attack 100% of the time essentially. Also down here you've got the sequel of Avarice, so it increases the size, it doesn't change anything, but it also increases the damage by 180%, and that is a more multiplier, and it increases health by 90%, so that's absolutely bonkers, and that will apply to your Wraithlord as well. We then have 5 points going into Reapers, it gives us 20 base necrotic damage. 3 points into Necrotic Hunger, so that's necrotic damage 60% more multiplier, as well as 15% necrotic health leech. The health leech will be important once we look at one of the skills later on in this video. We have 1 point into Wrathbringer to allow us to get round here. 1 point into Spirit Link. We don't need the critical strike chance because Dreadshade will take care of that. Again, there's more critical strike chance, we don't really need that, but what we want at the end here is a critical strike multiplier, the additional 90%, and we'll be getting 100% crit rate on our Wraithlord. And then we actually have 2 points left here that I just went into this one to give additional health for our Wraiths as well. Our next skill is Dreadshade. We want to have 100% uptime with this on our Wraithlord, so we have 2 points into Spectral Presence to to allow us to get to Lone Watcher, so it means the health doesn't drain when you have the shade on a minion. Instead they just take more damage, and we can sustain that through all the defense we've got on our Wraithlord. From here we've got 3 points into Lingering Doom. It gives us increased necrotic damage, but what it also does is allows us to go into All for One, where we're only using the shade on one minion, so that gives it an additional 40% more damage. We then have Minion Always Crits, so this is amazing. This one 100% crit rate on our Wraithlord. We put 1 point into here, so rather than your health going down with the setup we're using, what actually happens is that they'll get stacks of poison on them. I've seen me been able to manage 200-300 stacks of poison and still keep the Wraithlord up, so you don't have to worry about this at all. And what it actually gives you when you put 3 points into this is an additional 45% more damage. Once again, it's just such a nice multiplier, that one. We then have Blind Fury. Now with this it says it blinds your minion, however this node here overrides it, and you will always hit and there will always be a crit. So what you're essentially getting with this node with no downside is 40% increased attack speed and 40% increased cast speed as well. We have 2 points going into Dying Coven. It gives us additional attack speed, and then 4 points going into Grim Fate, and what that does is that increases our more damage by an additional 60% there. With Volatile Zombie we have a really strange setup you've probably never seen before here, but it really does work with this build. So it's all about when we summon our Volatile Zombies, we want to summon multiple of them, and they'll also summon our minions as well, and they are instantly consumed by a Wraithlord. So we have 3 points here to allow us to go up to this side of the tree, and then if we head over to the left here, Dreadful Horde. So with this you'll be getting an additional 4 zombies per cast when you cast it, so that means that's 5 a time that you get. It does add a cooldown on it, but it's still definitely worth it. Also with this, when a zombie dies, and they will be dying instantly, they create corpse parasites for 4 seconds. They'll instantly be consumed by the Wraithlord. Each zombie creates 2 of them, so you're actually creating 10 of these. So far when we're casting this, we've got 5 zombies, we've got 10 of the corpse parasites, so that's 15 minions we've actually got, which is an additional 150 base necrotic damage. We can even get more than that though, because we would put points into this node, head along here to this one to get to this one at the end here. So the explosion deals damage in a larger area, and when a zombie dies it creates a skeleton vanguard. So you can have up to a maximum of 3 of these vanguards. So adding it all up, actually, yeah, that is 180 base damage you get when you cast this skill, and we have the cooldown on around about 6 seconds or so, which means we can double up on the bonus, so that's 360 base damage we're adding to the Wraithlord. That's why it's hitting for 4 million there. We've then got Ravenous, that can be nice for some additional damage to bosses. We've got the kill threshold here, 16%, which is great. We convert the damage on it to necrotic damage, and then we also have it applying marked for death as well. And then finishing up here, 2 points into this node so that we can actually put 1 point into this one. It means the zombies no longer move, because what would happen before, probably wouldn't happen now that my Wraithlord's attack speed is so high, but previously what would happen is sometimes the zombies would run towards an enemy and blow up, and the Wraithlord wouldn't kill them. With this, you cast the volatile zombies behind yourself, away from enemies, and that way the Wraithlord will most definitely get the kill on them, and they're not going to move, so they're not going to explode. We have our movement ability here with Transplant. So with this one, we have 3 points into this node here, so when we teleport we're getting haste and frenzy. We then have 3 points into bone armor. This is giving us additional armor and less damage taken after we teleport for 4 seconds. Plated bone is increasing the effect on it, and then you've got apostasy, if that's how you say that one. That's increasing the duration of the bone armor. And then we have, I'm not even going to try and say that one, we've got this, so when we teleport we create a bone minion and that will instantly be consumed by a wraith. It's only one, but it does all add up. I'm not really going to show the other nodes here because I put points into them because I had to, not because they really fitted in with the build at all. A final skill here is Infernal Shade, and like Dread Shade we'll place this on the Wraithlord and it gives it a lot more damage. So you've got Devour in Flames, which means we can actually target the Wraithlord. From there that will give that Wraithlord haste. This one here means we've got unlimited duration, so we place it on once and then we just forget about it. The minion that has it has increased move speed and also increased cast speed, and that goes up to 72% maximum, which is huge. We then place our remaining points along this tree here. The main reason we're going for this particular one is the one at the end here. There's nothing that's really ideal for this build, and it did have excess points, but with this, if any enemies do get close to the Wraithlord, they'll have that armour being shredded. So that is everything you need to know to run what's probably one of the most insane builds available in Last Epoch at the moment. I actually can't wait to get back to it and try and fine tune my gear and see how much I can get it to hit harder, see if I can break that 5 million mark on the training dummy. Now, if this video has been helpful, as we mentioned at the start of the video, there is a lot more guide content on the channel, so feel free to check that out and let me know what you think of this setup in the comments below. And thanks for tuning in, stay safe, I'll see you all again soon.